Hello, I'm your average ordinary American. I'm not making any money on this video, and I'm not associated with anybody. I'm just an American who believes in the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. I believe in the flag over there, and I believe in that flag over there, which was carried by the Continental Marines in the Revolutionary War. I believe in the Pledge of Allegiance. I believe in the Star Spangled Banner. I believe in a lot of the monuments, and I definitely believe in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What I'm going to talk about today is how I declared in my last video that socialism goes against the principles of self-government and freedom. The founding documents of the United States support individual freedoms and expressions. Socialism, to be blunt, is a group tyranny. I also believe it's a cult without a God. No true American is for complete socialism, and even social programs should be limited to individual states. It is my contention that socialism collapses upon itself. One of the arguments that socialism doesn't work, it's always because of the United States, it's because of this person, that person. But I wish the socialists would take a look in that there's three major problems. There's more than three, but the three major problems with socialism is one, there's no belief in God. It's not in touch with reality. It's always a promise, a floating promise out there that if we just spend more money, we have more programs, more of this, more of that, it'll work. But it never has. And three, that this group of I think there's always a new group of socialists who think they're going to be different than the last group of socialists. Socialism, in a nutshell, is a group tyranny. It turns out to be that way all the time. And for all you Americans for all you socialists who live in America who think that you're going to do it different than Cuba or Soviet Union, why are you already acting both like Stalin and Cuba? If you are for censorship, if you are for the government running everything, telling everybody what to do, what type of car to buy, what type of house to buy, where we should pray, what we should do, and you want to re-educate people, which some of you socialists are talking about, well, that's what Stalin did. You want to take away everybody's guns. Well, that's what Stalin did. And I want to remind everybody that the true title of the Nazi Party was Nazis, the National Socialist Party of Nazism. Something to those lines. But they considered themselves a National Socialist Party. My contention is that socialism, communism, and fascism are all in the same tree. They have two fundamental beliefs. One, that there's no God, and the second belief is that if they ran everything, it'd be a utopia. But I'm going to go into our founding documents and talk about how really there's nothing more anti-American than socialism. Now I want to clarify, I'm not talking about the classic liberal and welfare programs. I just believe a welfare program should be run by the state. And for common sense, why would someone assume that a program run in Florida is going to work in Wisconsin? Why would someone assume that a program that works in New York is going to work in Texas? Now, back to, I'm going to be talking about the Bill of Rights and how socialism goes against the Bill of Rights. And I'm going to start with this quote. This is quoted on May 14th, 1787. Began at the State House, Independence Hall, for the purpose of revisiting the Articles of Confederation and formulating the Constitution. George Washington, who had been unanimously elected as the president of the convention, rose during the convention and admonished the delegates. If to please the people we offer what we ourselves disapprove, how can we afterward defend our work? Let us raise a standard to which the wise and honest can repair. The event is the hand of God. They believed God was with them. One of the things that socialists dislike immensely is God, the Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights. I believe that the reason they don't like them is because it proves, if you just read them, you realize that socialism is a tyranny. And everything that it's in the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, Bill of Rights, goes against socialism. On June 20th, 1785, James Madison wrote in regard to the relationship between religion and civil government. Religion is the basis and foundation of government. Even if you're an atheist, that has its own basis, which is the basis of socialism. And what did that lead to? Death. Look at all the people that Nazis killed. Look at all the people Stalin killed. Look at all the people that the Vietnamese killed. Now here in the United States, socialists want to take away your rights. They want to take away your freedom of speech. They want to take away guns. They want to tell you where to pray and what not to pray, while they say that they're for freedom. James Madison also said this. In 1785 session of the General Assembly of the state of Virginia, James Madison explained in his Religious Freedom and Memoir why he was against the establishment of religion by law. It is the duty of every man to render to the Creator such homage. Before any man can be considered as a member of civil society, he must be considered as a subject of the governor of the universe. And then he also said in 1778, again, this is James Madison saying in 1778, I want to remind everybody he was one of the writers of the Constitution, so I don't want to hear, well, he doesn't, it doesn't apply today. Socialists always say the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, Bill of Rights don't apply because it points out that they're a tyranny. And I want to say this quickly. Socialists are always saying what they do helps people. Does it? Really question if it really does. Everything that a socialist claims you need them for, you don't really need a socialist for. You could do it yourself. Anybody can do that themselves. You don't need a group to tell other people to do the right thing. And I want to mention, socialists always believe in a regulation. If you have this regulation, it'll help. But no one ever considers the idea that a regulation also hinders. And again, James Madison wrote this in 1778. We have asked the whole future of American civilization, not upon the power of government, far from it. We have staked the future of all our political institutions upon the capacity of mankind for self-government, upon the capacity of each and all of us to govern ourselves, to control ourselves, to sustain ourselves according to the Ten Commandments of God. Even if you're an atheist, why would you be against the Ten Commandments? Are you for stealing? Makes you wonder what socialists are for. Against murder? Makes you wonder what socialists are for. Just those two things. Now, what I want to get to, and I apologize for this for a second. I just lost some paper. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the Bill of Rights and how the Bill of Rights contradict socialism and socialist ideals. Preamble to the Bill of Rights. Congress of the United States began and held at the city of New York on Wednesday, the 4th of March, 1789. So 1789. The convention of a number of the states having the time of their adopting the Constitution expressed a desire in order to prevent misconstruction or abuse of its power that further declaratory and restrictive clauses should be added. This in itself goes against socialism. Socialists don't want to be restricted in anything. They feel they have the right to run everything for the benefit of everybody else, of course. But does it really benefit you? Let's say you made $50,000. Let's say you've worked your way up and you're making $50,000. The government says, okay, this person making 40, this person making 30,000 needs to make 40 and you need to make 40, so we're going to take your $10,000 and give it to this person who sat on his ass. Did nothing. Doesn't work. Excluding, of course, a real like medical thing or something like that. That's socialism in a nutshell. Socialism doesn't bring middle class, it brings mass poverty. If you continue to take away everybody's the same. They're the same in poverty. They're not the same in wealth. And I know that socialists always claim it's fair. Why is it fair for one group of people, a small group of people, to decide who's rich and poor? Wouldn't you rather, isn't it more fair to have people rise and fall within the classes? Instead of having an elite class telling everybody else who's rich and poor. Every time that happens, it's always a tyranny because it's not based on merit. It's based on who you like. Well, a socialist isn't going to like someone who likes the Constitution, Bill of Rights, are they? So you're going to make them poor. So isn't that really ass-kissing? Sorry for language, but isn't that what it's about? Who are you going to ass-kiss the elites? Boy, is that fair. Have you ever worked a job where it's all about ass-kissing? Tell me that's fair. To go on. That further declaratory and restrictive clauses should be added, and as extending the ground of public confidence in the government will best ensure the benefit ends of its institution. Resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America, in Congress assembled 2/3 of both houses, concurring that the following articles be proposed to the legislatures of several states as amendments to the Constitution of the United States, all or any of which articles which ratified by 3/4 of the said legislators to be valid to all intents and purposes as part of the said Constitution. Viz, I don't know what that means. Articles in addition to an amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America, proposed by Congress and ratified by the legislators of the several states, pursuant to the 5th article of the original Constitution. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name, and I apologize, I'm not a professional speaker. Frederick Augustus Muhlenberg, Speaker of the House of Representatives, John Adams, Vice President of the United States and President of the Senate. Attest, John Beckley, Clerk of the House of Representatives, Sam A. Otis, Secretary of the Senate. On September 25th, 1789, Congress transmitted to the state legislators 12 proposed amendments, 2 of which having to do with congressional representation and congressional pay were not adopted. The remaining 10 amendments became the Bill of Rights. Now again, the Bill of Rights were to limit government. So that in itself makes socialism un-American. The only way that socialism can work, let's put that in quotes, because it never does. It always collapses on itself. And again, I believe fundamentally the three reasons it collapses on itself. One, there's no foundation in God. Two, it always leads to poverty. And three, it's a tyranny. First, Amendment 1, freedom of religion, speech, and the press. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Oh, it is, now, a myth is that the idea that the church and state quote. The church and state quote came from a letter between Adams and Jefferson. And the Supreme Court in 1950 said it was in the Constitution, but it's not in the Constitution. It's not in the Bill of Rights. Actually, based on the Bill of Rights, no government has the right to tell anybody else not to pray and not to put up the Ten Commandments. Why did this happen? Well, partly I believe the church is wimpy. And the second part is the socialists have been putting in socialist judges who make rules that are completely against the Constitution, which that should be un-American. Okay, now it says, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. Now, socialists don't like any of those things. What does a socialist believe? We should run everything. You should listen to us. You should be a blind robot. Oh, socialism is awesome. Socialism will help us. But socialism collapses on itself. It never works. And every group of socialists, I'm repeating myself on purpose, every group of socialists think they'll make it work this time. And they're going to be different. Oh, I guess unless you disagree with the current group, then you should be censored. Then you should be thrown out of Congress. You should be dropped from Twitter. I'm going to make this a little personal. Let's say Twitter said no black people could be on Twitter. How would that go over? But I guess it's okay to say no conservative or Christian can be on Twitter. Amendment 2. Definitely socialists don't like this. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. Oh. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Hear that, socialists? This alone, again, proves that socialism is anti-American. The reason, and I've said this before, if you looked at some of my other videos, the reason socialists want to get rid of guns is because once they take over and they've made everything a dystopia and you can't stand the place, you want to shoot socialists. And let's not forget that the reason that this is in there is because of the British surrounding Boston and taking everyone's guns away to protect themselves. It says right in the Constitution it's okay to have a militia. And it's always interesting to me that socialists on every level, even on the media, in the government, in the people who run schools and unions, don't like militias because it keeps them at bay. Amendment 3. No soldier shall, in time of peace, be quarantined in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be described by law. Amendment 4. I would say that goes against socialism too, because socialists want to use the army to squash everybody else. And they want to dictate and tell every single person within the army what to believe and what to do, just like they do everywhere else. Amendment 4. It's the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. And no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause, supported in an oath or affirmation, and particularly described the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. How about all this COVID stuff? All these socialists and all their experts, we're going to shut down your business. We're going to come into your house if you don't wear a mask. It goes against Amendment 4. Where is anybody standing up for this? Where are the eagles? Come on, people. Socialists, Anytime a socialist uses some sort of thing, it's about protecting people. Do they really protect it? Is it really about protection? It's about control and manipulation. I did a video on that too. Look at the current crop of socialists running the Democrat Party. They're talking about unity. What they mean by unity isn't two sides arguing and figuring it out. It means you should agree with them. If not, we can censor you. We can do whatever we want because you're against democracy. Let's be real. Socialists don't like democracy. They hate democracy. They might talk about democracy and they call it the socialist democracy or whatever. It's BS. They want to run everything. In this country, socialists are in these groups. They run the media. They run the Democrat Party. They run the teachers union. They run the universities, and they run your school system. Basically, a socialist. The leaders of the Socialist Party are upper middle class liberal professors who believe based on what they've been taught and how it looks good that socialism is great. Let's review this too. Why do upper educated people believe in socialism? I contend because they've been brainwashed since kindergarten. They go from kindergarten to primary school, from primary school to middle school to high school to college to a higher degree, and they usually get, by that time, they're teaching. Where in there is real life? I also want to say that, again, it looks good on paper. Let's equate this to sports, even if you don't like sports. Every year, on paper, people go, oh, this is going to be the greatest team ever. And how often does that greatest team lose? During the season or in the playoffs. That's the same way with socialism. It looks good on paper. It looks fair on paper. But why is it fair? Why would anybody consider one group of people deciding who's rich and poor is fair? Why should some people who sit on their ass, don't do anything, get the same as someone who gets a lot? Just like, why is it we're all born in different places? You cannot fix that. There's things that socialism claim they can fix that they can't fix. You can't fix prejudice with legislation. You can't fix poverty with redistribution of wealth. It doesn't work. This is where the cult aspect comes in. It's going to work. It's going to work. The reason it doesn't work is because you've taken God out. And you've taken reality out. The belief that if everybody would be great, if they were provided for economically, is very contradictory to what socialists say. Think about it. If that's the truth, if the truth is that people's moral compass is based upon their economic value alone, the people with the most morals would be rich people. Let me say that again. If the idea is that the most moral people, if people's morals are based upon their economic situation alone, that's it. The most moral people on the planet would be the most wealthy. But what do socialists say? The most wealthy people are the most corrupt. That in itself is a contradiction. But socialists will never, the other thing that irritates me about socialists is they will never admit that their crap don't work. Their stuff don't work. It's always someone else's fault. Oh, that's just, I know I get fired up in my videos, but I am who I am. Amendment 5. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of grand jury except in cases arising in the land of national forces or in the militia. Maybe that's why socialists don't like militia. When in actual service in time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Oh, where's the due process with COVID? Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. I guess that ends all the COVID crap that socialists have brought on for your protection. Amendment 6. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously asserted by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. Obviously, a socialist doesn't like any of that. They just want to arrest you. Have you looked at this new idea on what they consider a terrorist? If you look at the list, it's everything that every person who disagrees with a socialist. And they go out there and, well, we want to get rid of prejudice. But you have to remember, a socialist believes that anytime you disagree with their policy, you're prejudiced. They want any excuse to just arrest anybody. Maybe that's why they don't like the Bill of Rights. Amendment 7. It suits at common law where the value and controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of common law. I guess they've thrown that one out a long time ago. Amendment 8. Excessive bail should not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. How about how socialists like to use the IRS to attack any conservative group? Like they do that against any person who goes against Planned Parenthood. There was a guy who was arrested because he wrote stuff against Planned Parenthood, and the guy was arrested. On their list, which is kind of funny, which is not funny, but socialists believe that if you're a Christian, you're against society. You're a criminal. So if you're a Christian, you should be arrested? Wow, that's open-minded. Unless, of course, you're a Christian that they agreed to. Again, socialism always leads to tyranny. And let's not forget, socialists have always hated Jewish people. Listen to the socialists up in there. They can't stand Israel. They can't stand Christians, and they can't stand Jews. So why does any Christian or any Jewish person vote for these socialists? I have no idea. Have you gone to school for so long that you can't think for yourself? And that's the point. Think about it. The longer you're in school, the more apt you are to vote for a socialist. Is that a coincidence? Again, let's go back to my analogy. You start from kindergarten. A teacher starts at kindergarten, goes to primary school, from primary school to high school, from high school to college, from college to higher education, and then they're hired on. Do you ever notice the teachers union doesn't want to hire anybody who's not gone through that process? And the teachers union talks about being diversified. Well, they're diversified by race, but are they diversified by thought? Oh, I guess not. I guess they don't want a black teacher talking about how they don't like affirmative action. I guess they don't want to hire a Christian scientist who disagrees with evolution. And again, to be a true socialist, you are an atheist, and your religion is the government. The government will solve this. The the government will solve this. Well, boys, it doesn't work. Amendment 9. Okay, I do not know what this word is, and I apologize. Again, I'm not a professional speaker. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be constructed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. What this means is there shouldn't be one group of people who have one set of rights and another group that has another set of rights. Now, for all the socialists who keep on saying that our country was founded on prejudice and slavery, that is not true. The Declaration of Independence led to the Civil War. The Constitution and the Bill of Rights led to the Civil War. Because why? Slaves went, your own documents are against this. But there's socialists out there in California who want to get rid of Abe Lincoln and George Washington. Why? Because if you understand our history, and the reason socialists don't want you to know history is because you realize completely that if you read the founding documents, it nullifies and it stops prejudice. But it also points out to the fact that socialists are tyrants. And what does the Declaration of Independence say? I like to quote this. Note, a tyrant is unfit to be ruler of the free people. Now, everybody always wants to think a tyrant is one person. It could be a group. And one of the biggest tyrannical groups in the history of the world, and who has killed the most people, are socialists. Again, socialism includes fascists, communists, and socialists. They come from the same tree. Why do they come from the same root and the same tree? They're atheists, and they believe that the government will bring a utopia. And 10, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. There goes the idea of a strong central government, and the states don't matter, and you people shouldn't make your own decisions. I know I get fired up. I know I'm not a public speaker. I know these films aren't always the greatest. I'm just using a laptop, and my camera isn't the greatest. I don't have money for a better camera yet. And I just do this only for myself, and I hope someone watches it. But the truth of it is this. We're headed for a civil war. Now, I've been hearing some crap that the reason now the Civil War ends because Trump is not elected. No, the Civil War has been started since 1890s when socialists took over. It's just been taking real Americans and real eagles way too long to stand up. Now, what's an eagle? It's one of my codes. What is an eagle? Code 1 of an eagle. An eagle believes in the principles written in the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. An eagle takes seriously freedom of press, freedom of speech, freedom of choice, the right to own firearms and weapons, freedom of religion, and protects life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's an eagle. Where are they? These socialists and the compromised congressmen, senators, and presidents in the past, and present especially, are all kissing ass of socialists. See what's getting us? Deleted from Twitter. We're all becoming poor in the name of helping people. That's what socialists do. Socialism, there is nothing more anti-American than socialism. Now, if you've gone through public education, here's what they've taught you. They've taught you that our founding documents don't matter anymore. Well, they do matter. Because they're principles that they're human principles. But those human principles goes against principles of a socialist, which really there is no principles. There's nothing that irritates me more when a socialist says they're for the Constitution, or when they talk about morals. Socialist morals flip flop back and forth depending if it benefits them. That's not real morals. They also believe it's okay to lie, cheat, steal, kill if it promotes their cause. Which is that cause? Again, it's cultic. That if they ran, to set it down, to get it straight, right down to nitty gritty, socialists believe if they ran everything, the world would be a utopia. Have you checked out Cuba and their 1950s cars? That's the other thing. I don't understand why any artist supports socialism, because as soon as socialism comes in, it squashes any expression. Think about any journalist from any socialist country who was awesome. You know what they were? They went against socialism. They went against communism. They went against Nazism. Oh. Socialism produces nothing. Everything gets stagnant. Name a great invention that was ever done in a socialist country. Imagine that. Name any great medical events that's happened in a communist country. No, you know what communists do is they steal from other people. Look at China. They don't create nothing. They just steal everything. Look at Russia. They just stole everything and made it terrible. Would you want to buy a Russian car? Well, great, as an example. The idea that socialism is fair is a lie. The idea that there's freedom in socialism is a lie. The idea that you can have an economic system without believing in God is a lie. Even if you don't believe in God, that's a moral principle. What little one there is. Like it or not, our government was founded on Judeo-Christian principles. And it led to the greatest nation on the earth. I think part of the reason atheists don't like and socialists don't like and want to be atheists is because what they know, if they really had to face God, what's that going to be like? Think about what they're for. They're for abortion. You could say it's your right, but that goes against the Constitution too. The Constitution says the pursuit of happiness and life. Well, abortion, you're killing something, aren't you? You're stopping the pursuit of happiness, aren't you? I think that maybe on every state level, and people should help out someone who doesn't want a baby, but to kill it. And I also want to mention too, they go, conservative socialists. Well, conservatives are for the death penalty. Boy, is that hypocritical. How many socialists have they killed? How many descendants have they killed? If not killed, they take away. They use the IRS to take away their money. They squash speech. They want to stop people from being hired if you're not woke enough. Who's really the evil people, and who really is trying to take over? Who really is moral? Oh, but CNN and the legacy media say they are. Why? Because they're socialists too. Let's never forget that currently, socialists run the Democrat Party, they run the legacy media, they run the school systems, they run the universities. So every single time a legacy media person brings out an expert, they're going to be a socialist. Like all this mass stuff. Boy, have they gone back and forth. Now they want you to wear it too. Where are the Eagles? All this mass stuff, all of this goes against the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. If you're woke, you're not going to like this, obviously. And I don't care. The greatest principle of the Declaration of Independence is it gives any people, no matter what country they are, the right to say no to the government. And our own Constitution gives us the right to have a militia. Well, and I want to say a code of an eagle. One of my codes codes. A code of an eagle, and when you're talking about a militia, is there has to be honor, and there shouldn't be any cowardice. And code 5 of what it means to be in code 4, I should say. Code 4. An eagle never soars or uses their skills for political gains, to harm innocent Americans, and for frivolous causes. An eagle does soar to protect American people from those people or organizations that are against the principles of the United States. An eagle doesn't, in code 6, an eagle doesn't participate in cowardly terrorist actions or random acts of violence. An eagle will defend the flag, its monuments, true Americans, and honors the traditions of the United States. That's code 6. And code 2, I know I said my order. An eagle's first allegiance is to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is either for Jew or Christian. A non-Christian or non-Jew can be an eagle, but they should understand this nation was based upon Christian and Jewish principles. I would challenge you, if you've gone through public education, to really look at what those principles are. The reason socialists don't like them is because I think they're afraid they might actually run into God someday. Anyway, let's continue to pray for this nation, and let's hope it lasts.